We live in an era of easy applause and instant judgment. Many shape their lives only to fit into the expectations of others, but the price for this is their own freedom. When you depend on the gaze of others to validate your choices, you lose control of your own destiny. Today they applaud, tomorrow they criticize, and so your life becomes hostage to the instability of public opinion. How many times have you acted against your will just so you wouldn't disappoint someone? How many times have you worn a mask just to avoid rejection? This is the invisible prison of approval. Epictetus reminded us that those who seek to please everyone become slaves to those who approve, and the slave never lives in peace. Freeing yourself from this need is not about despising anyone, but about reclaiming your autonomy. It is choosing to walk according to your reason, not according to the crowd. The moment you eliminate this dependence, you begin to act not to impress, but to be true. Your life ceases to be a spectacle and returns to being a path. The wise man does not ask for applause, he walks in silence, steady, conscious, and free. So let us move on to the teachings. Lesson 7. The pursuit of approval. From an early age, we were taught to live in search of applause. To be accepted became the invisible goal of almost everyone. But to live this way is to live in captivity, for every step ceases to be yours and becomes shaped by the eyes of others. Today they praise, tomorrow they criticize. What they applaud today, they may reject tomorrow, and your life becomes hostage to the unstable winds of opinion. The need for approval is a prison that few can see. You smile when you don't want to smile. You agree when you would rather disagree. You pretend to be someone you are not, just so you won't disappoint, but by pleasing everyone you betray yourself, and in the silence of the night you realize you are lost. Epictetus warned us, those who live in search of approval become slaves, and there is no peace in slavery. For while you wait for recognition, life passes by. While you wait for validation, your principles weaken, and when you notice, you no longer know who you truly are. Eliminating this need does not mean despising anyone. It means recovering the autonomy that was always yours. It means acting according to reason, not according to the audience. It means walking firmly, even without applause. It means choosing what is right, even if no one sees. The Stoic understands that true value lies in living according to virtue, and virtue does not need applause. It is sufficient in itself. It is solid, silent, immutable. When you stop seeking approval, you find freedom. When you stop begging for attention, you discover serenity. And when you realize you don't need to prove anything to anyone, you find power. The wise man does not ask for applause. He does not beg for recognition. He simply walks, serene, whole strong. And in silence he conquers the life that many applaud. But few have the courage to live. Lesson 6. Attachment to the past. Many live as prisoners of memories. Some cling to old victories as if yesterday could sustain today. Others remain reliving pains that should have already healed. But the past is only a shadow. It is a place that no longer exists, yet many choose to dwell in it. They spend entire nights reconstructing dialogues. They relive choices that cannot be remade. They insist on fighting an enemy that is no longer present. And they forget to live the only real time, the now. Sêneca said that the time that has already passed no longer belongs to us, and yet we waste the present negotiating with memories. Attachment to the past is a silent chain. It weighs on the shoulders and suffocates the soul. It turns memories into prison. You look back as one who stares into a broken mirror, and from it you expect to find meaning for today's life. But the reflection is never whole, never fair. The past should be a teacher, not a prison. It should teach, not condemn. The lessons are precious, but they must not become chains. You are not the sum of your mistakes. You are not the repetition of your losses. You are what you do in this moment, what you choose now, what you plan today. Eliminating attachment to the past requires no announcement. It needs no explanation. It is a silent decision, an inner cut, a choice to walk lightly, to let what was be what it was, and to make room for what is. The Stoic learns to use scars as reminders, not as chains. He accepts what cannot be changed. He honors the lessons, but does not live in them, and thus he walks with serenity. The wise man does not flee from the past. He simply does not cling to it. He lives in the present, because he knows the now is all that exists, and every step taken in the now is a greater victory than any memory that has passed. Lesson 5. Uncontrolled anger. Anger is like fire. It starts small, but if it is not contained, it consumes everything around it, and the first to be burned is always the one who feeds it. Many believe that exploding is a sign of strength, but in truth, it is proof of weakness. For he who does not master himself is a slave to his own emotions. How many words have been spoken in fury, only to turn into regret later? How many bridges have been burned in seconds of rage? How many relationships have been lost because the flame of anger spread without control? Anger may seem like power, but in reality it is poison. It blinds, distorts, and destroys. Sêneca said that anger is the most terrible of passions, and he was right. For when anger rules, reason is silenced. The heart becomes a battlefield, and the mind a hostage of chaos. The Stoic is not insensitive. He too feels the flame of indignation, but he does not blow on it to make it grow. He observes, he breathes, he waits, for he knows that calm is always stronger than the explosion. Eliminating uncontrolled. Anger does not mean denying the feeling. It means learning to master it, to channel the energy to build, not to wound, to turn the flame into light, not into fire. How many mistakes could have been avoided if we had waited a few moments before acting? How many wounds would not exist if we had let silence speak in our place? The pause is the weapon of the wise. Silence is the shield of reason, and self-control is the hardest victory of all. The Stoic understands that anger may arise, but it must never rule. For he who is ruled by anger loses himself, and he who masters it conquers freedom. The wise man is not the one who never feels anger, but the one who remains master of himself, even in the face of provocation. This is true power, and he who conquers it is never again a slave to fury. Lesson 4. Constant comparison. Comparing yourself is a silent habit that destroys in silence. You look to the side and always find someone apparently stronger, more beautiful, richer, more successful, and without realizing it, you begin to measure your life with someone else's ruler. But every external ruler is unjust, for each person carries invisible pains and battles. What you see is only the surface. Constant comparison is a trap that imprisons the soul. It turns achievements into failures. It makes every victory seem too small, and it prevents you from feeling gratitude for what you already have. The Stoics remind us that the only fair comparison is with yourself. Ask yourself, am I better today than I was yesterday? That is the measure of virtue. That is the criterion of growth. When you measure yourself by others, you lose your essence. When you measure yourself by yourself, you find purpose. Everyone's life is a unique path, and another's road cannot serve as a parameter for yours. How many have abandoned their dreams because they looked at their neighbor's success? How many have stopped believing in themselves because they did not achieve things in the same time as others? But everyone's time is different, and the rush of comparison only destroys serenity. Eliminating comparison does not mean ignoring others. It simply means ceasing to measure your peace with another's ruler. It is learning to look within. It is recognizing your own progress. It is understanding that virtue does not compete, it only flourishes. The Stoic does not envy. He does not wish to take anyone's place. He understands that happiness lies in living according to reason and nature, not in collecting visible medals. Each time you eliminate comparison, you gain freedom. Each time you look at your journey without measuring it against others, you find peace. And when you understand that the only race is against yourself, silence becomes victory. The wise man does not run to be seen. He walks to be whole, and his only goal is to be better today than he was yesterday. Lesson 3. Fear of judgment. Few prisons are as silent as the fear of judgment. You stop acting not because you don't know what to do, but because you fear what others will think, and so your life becomes hostage to opinions that change like the wind. The fear of judgment paralyzes dreams, it extinguishes talents, and it makes many die without ever showing who they truly are. The Stoics understood that we have no control over the tongues of others. There will always be those who criticize. There will always be those who speak ill. There will always be those who invent, who diminish, who doubt. And if you spend energy trying to stop this, you will live forever exhausted. The truth is that another's judgment does not belong to you. It reveals more about the one who judges than about the one being judged. But even knowing this, many tremble before opinion, and out of fear of criticism, they remain still. Out of fear of rejection, they suffocate their gifts, and so they extinguish their own light. Epictetus said, "If someone speaks ill of you and it is true, correct yourself. If it is false, laugh." That is the key. It is not about trying to control others' vision, but about controlling your own reaction. It does not matter what they say. What matters is how you choose to live. Eliminating the fear of judgment is reclaiming your voice. It is taking a step even if they laugh. It is dreaming even if they doubt. It is speaking even if they do not listen. It is standing firm even if the world tries to push you down. The Stoic understands that life is too short to be lived under the shadow of others. He acts according to virtue, not according to the crowd. He chooses what is right, not what is popular. He follows the straight path, even if he walks alone. The wise man does not fear judgment. He knows the world will always have something to say, but he who lives firmly does not need approval, and he who remains standing, even under criticism, has already conquered true freedom. Lesson 2. Negative thoughts. Negative thoughts are like shadows that follow you uninvited. They corrode your energy, undermine your confidence, and silently steal your peace. You wake up with them, go to sleep with them, and often don't even realize they are shaping your actions and decisions. According to Stoicism, the mind must be treated like a garden. You plant what you wish to harvest. Allowing destructive thoughts to dominate your mind is like planting weeds and expecting flowers to bloom. Every negative thought is a choice of suffering. You can allow it to grow, or you can decide to eliminate it. Stoicism teaches us that we should not cling to emotions we cannot control. Negative thoughts do not need to be violently suppressed, but rather observed, understood, and dissolved. Ask yourself, does this thought serve me? Does it strengthen me or weaken me? The answer should guide your action. When you identify a negative thought, breathe, analyze, and consciously replace it with something aligned with your peace and your goals. Imagine how many opportunities you've lost because of thoughts that paralyzed you. Imagine how many times you failed to act because your mind insisted on creating scenarios of fear, guilt, or hopelessness. This is not only mental exhaustion, it is a drain of vital energy you will never recover. The Stoic observes, accepts, and lets go. He understands that thoughts are merely shadows of the mind, not commands. You can choose to focus on what is real, on what is useful, and on what can be turned into positive action. Eliminating negative thoughts is a silent, discreet, and continuous process. It is not about denying reality or becoming insensitive. It is about not allowing negativity to control your life, not letting it dictate your emotions, words, and actions. Each time you observe and release a negative thought, you strengthen your mind, train your emotional discipline, and create space for clarity, focus, and serenity. There is no need to prove anything to anyone. This battle is yours, internal and silent. Each mental victory is invisible but powerful. The Stoic knows that freedom begins in the mind. Eliminate negative thoughts, and you will see your life change in subtle yet profound ways. Lesson 1. Unnecessary comparisons. Comparing yourself to others is a subtle poison, often disguised as motivation. You look at someone else's life and measure your own happiness, success, or worth by standards that are not yours. Stoicism teaches us that the only life that matters is your own, and the only opinion that truly carries weight is your own conscience. Unnecessary comparisons are a mental prison. because they transfer your power outward, making you a slave to appearances, to the achievements of others, and to the expectations of the world. Every time you compare yourself, you lose the present. Life happens here and now, but your mind is busy trying to measure itself against someone walking a different journey. There is no sense in competing with another's path. The Stoic understands that every human being has a unique road, a rhythm, and distinct challenges. Your energy must be directed toward improving yourself, not toward measuring your worth through someone else's mirror. Comparison is silent, but cruel. It corrodes self-confidence, generates envy, and prevents you from recognizing your own achievements. Ask yourself, am I acting according to my values or am I chained to another's life? That question is the key to breaking the cycle of comparison. Free yourself from this silent habit. Value your progress, your decisions, and your efforts. Every small step you take is meaningful, even if it is not recognized by others. Eliminating unnecessary comparisons is an act of self-love. It is recognizing that your time, energy, and attention are precious and must be invested in personal growth. It is about stopping the search for external validation and finding satisfaction in your own path. The more you practice detachment from comparisons, the freer and more centered you become. Your mind is no longer a slave to external standards. It becomes master of itself. Stoicism reminds us, focus on what depends on you and ignore what you cannot control. Comparing yourself is wasting energy on what lies beyond your reach. Learn to admire others' achievements without letting them diminish your own journey. Respect your time, your limits, and your story. Every individual is a universe. Your life is unique. Do not waste your energy on silent comparisons that steal your peace. If this video touched you, subscribe now to the channel and don't miss any lesson of Stoic wisdom. Leave your like to show that you are ready to transform your mind and your life. Share this content with someone who needs clarity and inner strength. Comment below which habit you will eliminate first from your life. Turn on the notification bell and start today your journey to a freer and more powerful mind.